Even with the best laid plans and goals, sometimes we don't get the results we desire. And so we have to consider changing course, even midstream. So we'll talk about changing course, the challenges, and more on this episode of today's Antidote.
Stay tuned for today's Antidote, brought to you by the Renegade Success Network. Today's Antidote features a healthy dose of thought-provoking insights and information for business owners, entrepreneurs, leaders, and nonprofit professionals. Each day since March of 2020, this program has offered that one thing to help you continue on your own unique pathway to success. And now, Renegades, we bring you Bob Graham and Tom Brush.
Hey, Tom, that was fun.
Good morning. Yes, I made one little thing I forgot to do, was to kick Bob out of the space when we did the introduction. So, you never know sometimes.
It's about change, right? Things change and you got to deal with it.
Sometimes you're not getting the results you desire, or you are, and you still feel like you need to change course a little bit. So we'll talk more about that in a little bit. So good morning, everyone. Welcome to today's Antidote, our daily broadcast and podcast. Each week, Bob and I have a conversation around a topic. And this week's topic is changing course. We've been talking over the last few weeks about leading by letting go and taking on more. And I think anytime you do either of those, you likely have to consider, do we have to change course? Do we have to do something a little different now that the situation has changed? What's real for us is not the way it was before. So we'll talk about that. And we would encourage your thoughts and ideas as we go through our discussion. Please feel free to share them, whether you are following us on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, Twitter, or
LinkedIn Live, baby.
Yes, LinkedIn Live. Because we know that it'll add value to our show. And likely you'll bring up something that we hadn't considered, which would be beneficial to all. And then at the end of the conversation, Bob and I will each offer our one thing, our today's antidote, that thing that we hope will help you, maybe today, or maybe somewhere down the road, figure out how to take your next step along your own unique pathway to success. And before we dive into the conversation, though, we always dive into it. We always do a celebration. We start each morning with a celebration. So, Bob, what are you celebrating today?
I got to play golf 3 of the last 4 days with a cousin who's so much fun to play golf with because he celebrates your great shots. He doesn't give you a hard time when you have bad shots. And we had the best time just playing golf around the Baltimore area over the weekend. And the weather was really great.
Where did you play?
Played the Wetlands twice. We played, where else did we go? Oh, Geneva Farms.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's good. Sounds like a fun weekend.
Yeah. How about you? What are you celebrating?
So I'm celebrating today that a group of us who, and every time I mention this, Bob gets upset, who meet together regularly. We are getting some LinkedIn training from someone. The group of us decided, let's find someone who knows a lot about LinkedIn and is going to bring them in and share with us a little bit more about LinkedIn. So hopefully I'll have some good tips and some things to offer maybe in the future.
Are they going to talk about LinkedIn Live, baby?
LinkedIn Live, yes, indeed. So maybe we'll leverage that differently. I'll gain some new knowledge, and it might be necessary to change course. We'll see how that all goes.
Okay, awesome.
Yes, excellent. All right, so we have been talking, as I mentioned, with a lot of different things about leadership and the things that happen as a leader. And, one of the things that occurs as you go throughout the year, and, it's now almost September. So the end of the third quarter, which is hard to believe of the year. And so sometimes we have to start thinking about, what's the progress that we've made? And try to understand what that is. And do we need to consider doing something different and change course? So it's a really good time, I think, to have that conversation as people try to wrap up their summer and get ready for the fall and the final quarter of the year. So, Bob, what are your thoughts around changing course and some of the challenges to changing course?
Well, first of all, you have to be able to identify when it's appropriate to change course. And to my knowledge, I've never gotten a really good book or a letter in the mail or a telegram or a postcard or a phone call from someone that says, hey, by the way, Bob, it's Monday, August 22nd, 2022. You really should change course today. This would be a really good, I've looked at everything you need to change course. So absent that clarity, it's a risk. And I think that can be a challenge at times to people. And I think that discourages people. It's like, well, if I change this, what if I change it the wrong way? What if I make it worse than it already is? Versus the possibility of what if I do something and it improves the situation? I think we tend to be conditioned towards the negative because we have the fear that, especially working with teams or organizations, what if we change course and it goes really wrong and they blame us? I do coaching and consulting work, and often you're going in and you're talking to companies about how they can change things. And the first resistance is, well, we've always done it that way.
Sure.
So, and you run that risk that if you change it, maybe the way they did it actually was effective for them for whatever reason. I think of companies that still use paper invoicing and mail it out or fax it. I saw a fax machine a couple of weeks ago. I hadn't seen a fax machine in a couple of years. That company used the fax machine and their customers used the fax machine. Now, you could go in and say, hey, let's modernize, get rid of the fax machine, only do it by email, but that's got a ripple effect, right? Now your customers have to use email. They can't use fax machine. Maybe they're not as comfortable with email. Maybe they have a process in place. And I think that's part of it. When we make a change, we also run the risk of it affecting the whole ecosystem. And I've done changes before where it's like I didn't realize the implications of the change. And next thing you know, it's like, oh, wow, I didn't realize that was going on. So good start there.
Yeah, sure. I think that's, one of the hard things is you don't know. One, as you mentioned, sometimes you don't know that it's time. How do you know that, there's that balance between changing and being like, well, if I just keep doing this a little bit longer, I'm going to get the results that I desire. And I think that's a real risk that people run when you consider about changing course. And the other side of it is that once I do that, how do I know that things are going to be any different? And I think the answer to all of that is you don't. And I'm sure we'll talk about more as we go through this week, talking around changing course. And I think, it's hard to consider because one of the things you don't consider is, maybe those great goals and plans I put together weren't as effective as I thought. And I think not only does that lead to questioning the goals and objectives, I think it starts leading to questioning ourselves as the role that we're taking, whether we're leading a team or we're leading ourselves, starting to question, am I really a leader that I think I need to be? And I think that gets even deeper than just, what might happen if the organization changes, and that if we do this with our team and it doesn't go as planned, it might not go as well for the organization. And ultimately, what's that going to mean for me? And how I not only see myself, but how do I then consider how do I keep moving forward and not end up getting stuck, frustrated, overwhelmed, and just uncertain about what to do next.
Whoa, can you hear that?
No.
I'm outside and there's thunder.
You're outside?
I'm on a patio.
Oh.
And there's thunder rumbling in the background. I thought you'd be able to hear it. It's kind of disconcerting. I wasn't expecting that.
You might have to change course and go inside.
I may scramble inside at any moment. So, well, I think, Tom, part of the challenge. Let me give a scenario that I went through. Years ago, I worked for a company and we were printing. We were creating and printing curriculum materials, and there was a document that I was editing that had a whole bunch of blank pages. I mean, probably 40 of the 100 pages were blank. They were the back half of a front page. I was trying to cut costs because I was new. And so to cut costs, I got rid of all the blank pages. We printed, 500 of these, probably. Send them out to the families. This was a homeschooling curriculum company. Send them out to the families, and we start getting complaints. Complaints are, hey, how can we cut these things out when there's another one on the back? Because now I had no idea. It was a change guided by the need to cut the budget. That was my concern. It's wasted space, that I didn't do the investigation I needed to do. No one told me, hey, by the way, Bob, this is why it's this way. I just didn't do my homework really well. And so we ended up making that change, sending them out, getting complaints, and then redoing them on a Saturday. So I brought a whole crew of people in on a Saturday. They were not happy at all. And I had egg on my face because I had made a course correction. I had changed things, and I had actually made them a whole lot worse and cost us a lot of money. Not intentionally, in no way. Now, could I have known what I did? Yeah, if I'd asked the right 2 or 3 people that would have told me, but I didn't, because I was young and I was smart and I know everything, and I'm going to make that change because, hey, I know everything. And it was really a lesson for me in making change, that you have to consider all kinds of perspectives. And I think that's another challenge we have, is often we want to make a change, especially new leaders that come into a new situation. They want to make a change because I've got to make a change to show them I'm in charge, show them I know what's going on. I know more than they know. And that tends to be one of the biggest challenges to being successful as a new leader, is that immediacy of change.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think everybody, no one likes change, and I think because they're so worried about what if what we were doing was correct, or, what if we do next doesn't work the way we think it's going to work. And so I think that one of the challenges, how do you get over that fear of change, and trying to figure out, like, is it the right time? Is it the right place? Do we have the right people? All of those things seem to be clear sometimes. And ultimately, they're not necessarily always exactly the way they should be.
Hey, Tom, I've got a cryptic message.
What's that?
It says, happy 39th, Tom.
Who's that from?
John Braheny. Today your birthday?
Yes, it is.
One of my challenges. I am so bad at that. Well, I am so sorry, Tom. I apologize. I should have known that.
It's okay.
39 today, huh? Wow.
Well,
August 22nd. Nice.
Not quite 39.
Not
a little
quite
bit more
39.
than that.
Well, another couple years, you'll be there.
Just add a few more. If you add a sweet 16 onto that, you'll be in good shape.
Yeah, it's too high math for me.
All right.
What are you doing to celebrate your birthday today?
I'm going to go work out. I always work out on my birthday.
You're going to go work out. Wow, you are living the dream. You're on the edge.
I guess I always feel like as long as I'm able to work out on my birthday, I'm not that old.
Okay. I also want to thank John for cluing me into that, because I was clueless. I feel really bad, but I'll get over it.
Yeah, it'll be all right. Well, it is what it is. It's what's real. Yeah. Just like what's going on in our wherever we're at is what's real. Is that we have, and then we just have to try to figure out what do we do based on what's real. That's all.
So, Tom, it's your birthday, and because of that, I will let you have the honors. What's your one thing today?
So I think for me, the one thing about changing course is, how do we know that there's a better way? And I think so often we spend a lot of time judging the results that we get, that it's really hard to learn and understand what are the other options that are out there. You and I talk about this all the time. We talk about networking and how the same old networking that people continue to do isn't producing the results that many people are looking for.
Go to the meeting, talk to the same people, to have the same discussion, tell them you're going to call them, meet one new person, throw their card on your dresser, and never talk to them.
And we don't know any different, because a lot of times we just judge it, and we don't always think about it because we haven't seen something that's different, something that works differently. And I think that those are the challenges that we face, is that we don't know what we don't know. We made the best decision we could. We looked at something, like looked at a networking group and said, oh, this looks like there's some good people in here. I'll try this out. And we either like it or we don't like it, and then we just judge it. And then it gets hard to move forward because we aren't learning about what are the things that we appreciated, what are the things that we didn't necessarily appreciate, so that we can either create or find something different that might be of value. And I think so many times it's easier just to stay the course because we don't know what else is out there, and because we've stopped looking in some regards, and I think that's one of the challenges that organizations have, is if they stop looking for opportunities to change course, they're never going to find them, and they're likely going to be very comfortable doing what they've always done. And so I think, as a renegade, if you're always thinking that there's something else out there that may add value, and you're willing to consider that what is real for you or your organization has changed because you have new knowledge, experience, and perspective, you're likely going to get stuck where you always are.
I was going to say, when we talk about changing course and the challenges, I think the biggest challenge is staying stuck with what you do. It's so easy to keep doing what you've done and expecting it to come out differently one day just because, well, we've always done it this way. And finding outside sources to blame. It's the economy, it's people, it's COVID, it's the weather, I know the shopping list like everyone. It's like you blame it on all these external things because then you don't have to really look at the real core issues and run the risk of making a change that might not take you exactly where you want to go. I'm sure we'll say it again this week, I always go back to the autopilot. 95% of the time, autopilot is course correcting. It's only 5% of the time that's going the right way. If
isn't that the way we are?
It's got to be true in our lives as well.
Well, if you buy into our theory that every moment what's real for you is being impacted by somebody sharing their knowledge, experience, and perspective, right? Every moment we are gaining new knowledge, we are constantly modifying what we do. Sometimes we're not open to that, and so we're not able to understand that things are changing all the time. You just think it's the same old, when in reality, every time you interact with someone new, your knowledge, experience, and perspective changes. And so if you're more comfortable with that, as I'm sure we'll discuss more, we'll start to understand some of the value that comes with changing course.
And I do think it's interesting, Tom, that you brought up the idea of networking, because as you know, you and I are working on a different kind of networking experience, a different kind of interaction that will debut somewhere towards the middle of September, right?
Absolutely. It will come out, I believe September 12th was the date.
Okay, September 12th. There you go. So keep your
probably.
eyes out for that. I think you'll hear little teases and hints about that over the coming days and weeks, because Tom and I have been spending a lot of time talking and walking through possibilities and what we're trying to achieve and what we've found could take things in a new direction. So,
well, and I think it plays into what we're talking about today. Really what we're discussing is how do we change course a little bit with the Renegade Success Network, and what does that look like? And how does that impact the people who are already engaged and involved in it? And will that change still add value for them as it relates to what is the new value it might have for others and for ourselves and the organization? And how does that? And so all of those things come into consideration, which create challenges, saying, well, how is this going to be impacted? How is that going to be impacted? How is that? And ultimately, we can't ever truly understand every perspective. And we can't really take it all into account because there's so much information to gather that you would likely get lost in all of that. So at some point we have to go with make the best decision we can. And so that's what we're trying to do as we consider changing course with the Renegade Success Network and what that's going to look like for people as we move forward.
I'm doing that now because I'm on a patio and the rain is harder and it's coming at me. It's the first time I've been on this patio in the rain. and I'm going to have to change course in about 90 seconds because I'm starting to get wet.
All right, so it's time to wrap it up, I guess. So thanks,
That's
everyone,
it.
for being with us today. We appreciate you being a part of today's episode. And if you have thoughts or ideas you'd like to share, or what's your one thing around changing course, please feel free to put it in the comments. And we know if you're listening to the podcast, there's no place to put it in the comments. So join us inside our ring.
On it.
Keep working on that, Bob. Please join us inside the Ring of Renegades Facebook group, where you can share your thoughts and ideas. And all week, we'll be talking about changing course. And what does that look like? So we know that if you are struggling with that, you might find exactly what you're looking for inside that group, or you might share something that will truly benefit someone who's trying to figure that out. So we look forward to seeing you inside the Ring of Renegades Facebook group, or we'll see you tomorrow morning, 7 a.m. Eastern time, for our next episode of Today's Antidote. Have a great day, everyone. We'll see you soon.
Hey, embrace the renegading you, and think about what challenges you and prevents you from changing course.
It's a good question. All right, everyone, go out and make it a great day. We'll see you soon.
Enjoy your birthday, Tom.
Thanks for listening to Today's Antidote, powered by the Renegade Success Network. The Renegade Success Network helps you confidently create your own unique pathway to success. To learn more about the Renegade Success Network and how you can take your next step, follow us on Twitter, connect on LinkedIn, or join the Ring of Renegades Facebook group. For full details on how you can join our community, go to renegadesuccessnetwork.com. Embrace the renegade in you.